All right, we'll get started. I'd like to welcome you. My name is Barry Nelson. I'd like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For those that don't know me, my name is Barry Nelson. I'm the current county chair. I'd like to welcome you to this meeting tonight on behalf of the commissioners. I think Larry Knutsen's here, and John Okeson. Richard Barberg is not here due to a death in the family. So keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. We also have numerous people online. So this might be one of our first meetings, at least in Becker County, where we're sharing the screen online. They're not getting to see us, but they'll see the presentation anyway and hear us. So welcome to those that are online. I want to thank you for being here, and thank you for your service as elected officials, and the work that you guys do is thankless at many times. As a county commissioner, I feel the same thing sometimes, but most often township supervisors receive more grief than county commissioners. Now, I think this last year might be an exception, but you guys do a lot of great work, and I want to thank you for that. I would like to turn this over to Roger Winter. He'll make a few comments and a few introductions himself, and then we'll start the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Commissioner Grimsley's back there too. He snuck in here. So, okay. I did get to visit with some of you clerks and some of you chairmen. I tried to call every township, and I think I got them all and left a couple of messages. And it must, because look at the crowd. And I'm proud that so many showed up. I'm Roger Winter, like he said, and I chair the Becker County Township Association. And I know some of them said they would try to get it on the screen and then also radio. Or the telephone. We don't have one other guest that we invited was Alan Roy from the White Oak Reservation. He's on here. Steve Finsky, our attorney from the association.
I went through this email
and Alan or Vance Bachman is in Nebraska, but he called and he said he was going to try and get on with the telephone.
No.
So hopefully he does. There's been some changes today again. I don't know if the county got versed on that, but my main hope is that we get some legislation out there that you, the townships, can use some of that money. Last time, you know as well as I do, that was something that was so quick, and somebody used the money, a lot didn't even try for it, and they turned it back in or sent it to the county for other distributions. So that's why having this joint meeting with all this money that's supposed to come out, it's $109 per capita, and that's a lot of money. That's why I'm hoping that some of the changes in the legislation that we can use this money without being in a big audit, because it's coming through the Treasurer's Department. And let's not be scared this time or afraid, but still, we gotta apply. I don't know if we got only about 60 days. And I'm not well versed on this myself, because our next township booklet that'll come out, that's going to have some of the do's and don'ts that we can do. So hopefully, and that's why I think a lot of you are here to hear what you actually can do with some of the money. And Guy Fisher, I'm going to turn it over to Mike, our county administrator. He's the one that thought we visited that, hey, let's have a meeting. And it's sure summertime, but let's try and get together. And, you know, township has always had a good working relation with the county here. So let's try and keep that thing going. Mike?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming here today, and
sitting in this room for maybe about an hour, 15 minutes. I'm thinking we can get you out of here, and then you can continue with the coffee and donuts. Like I said, my name is Mike Brethhorst. I'm the county administrator. I've been here for a little over 2.25 years now, so not very long. Still learning a lot about the county. One of the things I've learned about the county so far is that we're kind of a can-do county. I mean, everybody tries to do the best we can with the resources we have, and we have a very unique opportunity here to really catapult Becker County into into the future, really, with these resources. And these numbers are just incredible. And so the way that we've broken up this presentation this evening, it's three parts of this. One is Guy's going to talk a little bit about the program itself, you know, what's eligible, just generally reporting and how to apply for it. Then I'm going to get up and talk a little bit about collaboration efforts and things that you can actually put down on the ground and things you can actually do with these funds. And then after that, we've asked Steve from the Minnesota Association of Townships to walk you through the tools that he has available for you at the township level directly. But we at the county, we absolutely, and the commissioners are all in unanimous support that we as the staff are here to help you guys, because it's all the big picture. We're all here together. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to turn it over to Guy. The 3 B's we're going to follow: be brief, be brilliant, and be gone. So that's our goal here tonight. So I'm going to, there you go. Thank you.
Guy Fisher, Becker County EA, Parks and Recreation. And I'll just kind of wade right into this presentation. General fund guidance for use of funds by federal government and U.S. Treasury. So the aim of the ARP, the American Rescue Plan, is to speed up recovery from the economic and health effects of the pandemic and ongoing recession.
Great information.
The ARP funding objectives support urgent COVID-19 response efforts to continue to decrease spread of the virus, replace lost revenue for eligible state, local, territorial, tribal governments, support immediate economic stabilization for households and businesses, and address systemic public health and economic challenges that have contributed to the unequal impact of the pandemic. So the local stimulus, the amount of money we're talking about coming into the county, Becker County, almost $6.7 million. The cities, approximately $1.4 million. The townships, $2.5 million, for a total of a little over $10.6 million. The use of the funds. What we're looking to do is respond to the public health emergency or its negative economic impact. And so we're looking for assistance for households, small businesses, nonprofits, or aid impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. And we've all seen that this past year. Replace lost public sector revenue relative to revenues collected in the most recent full fiscal year prior to the emergency. Investing in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. And within these overall categories, recipients have a broad flexibility to decide how best to use this funding to meet the needs of their communities, and we're going to discuss this a little bit later on fairly quickly here, towards the end of the presentation. The timeline for the use of the funds. The funds must be obligated, they must be committed by December 31st, 2014, or excuse me, December 31st, 2024. Funds must be spent by December 31st, 2026. And then how to apply for the funds. I presume that most of you have this information, but I'm just going to go through it very quickly. The local government name and mailing address, your SWIFT supplier ID, your DUNS number, an authorized representative name, title, phone, and email, and this can be an elected official or a staff member, and then another contact person, again, name, title, phone, and email, and then pre-pandemic budget information. Below is a link that will take you to this page, essentially. And this is the page where you're kind of wading into that funding request process. You're reviewing the instructions, you've collected the required information, essentially. And then you're ready to press that blue button at the bottom. And once you press that blue button, that takes you to this page. And this is the request form walkthrough. And this is the top of the page for that. But the bottom of the page has kind of next steps and boxes to fill in. And that you'll wade into that ARP funding request form. So that's, and then the payments themselves in terms of the timing of those payments, your first payment, well, the payments will begin after July 1st, 2021, but 50% of the money will come in the summer of 2021, and 50% of the money will come in the summer of 2022. Here's some contact information, League of Minnesota Cities, Minnesota Association of Townships, COVID-19 Response, Accountability Office, and then we get into the reporting of funds. I know I'm going fast here, but we will answer questions at the end too. Record keeping. I'm sure you all keep records, but relative to the ARP, financial records and supporting documents related to the award must be retained for 5 years after all of the funds have been expended or returned to the Treasury. This includes records which demonstrate the award funds were used for eligible purposes in accordance with the ARP. And there's some reporting requirements associated with this. Because you're a township, relative to the interim report, under A, you're considered a non-entitlement unit, and therefore you don't have to submit an interim report, but the county does. And your information needs to be conveyed to the county relative to its reporting. And so the interim report will cover activity from the date of the award to July 31st, 2021, and must be submitted to Treasury by August 31st, 2021. So that's this year. Now, the quarterly project and expenditure reports, note that it says in bold, townships, non-entitlement units are required to report annually. So even though the county will be reporting quarterly, townships will be reporting annually. And then what they mention is the reports would include financial data, information on contracts, and subawards over $50,000, types of projects funded, and other information regarding the recipient's utilization of award funds. And then the initial report will cover the activity from the date of the award to September 30th, 2021. And must be reported, submitted to Treasury by October 31st, 2021. Subsequent annual reports must be submitted to Treasury by October 31st of each year. So that's some of the process. There was another piece of it, Mike, but I don't see it up here. So I'm going to turn.
Thank you. Just to begin, just to make this real personal, is that we have time. You know, we have time to get this done. We have till December 31st, 2023. And then you have till December 31st, 2025, was it? 2026? Yes, 2026 to spend it. So we have time. There's no rush like we had to do last time. So I think that's the biggest thing. So we can all take a breath this time and not be anxious to try to get this done. Secondly, the thing I really want to stress today is that we need to submit for the funds so you have them in your bank account. And the reason that's important, if we don't submit for the funds, the state of Minnesota will assume that the township is not applying or the city is not applying for those funds. And then they will redistribute those funds accordingly, however they see fit. So that's why it's so important that we at least get it in the coffers and figure out a way to reasonably and responsibly spend these funds. So I just wanted to bring that, just really stress that. So the things I wanted to talk about here, and Steve will talk about it as well, is collaboration. Things that you can be doing with these funds, a real world, ground level truth about what we can do. So there's 3 primary criteria that we can spend the funds on. So, and that's how I broke this out, and I gave examples in here. And that's what I really want to talk about is examples, what the heck you can actually do with it. Then I got some workarounds that I think we can get money into your roads. I think that's the most important thing that I'm hearing from most of the head nodding I see in the audience. So first of all, public health emergencies and negative economic impact. That's what we're here to try to address. So assistance of households, small businesses, you got those nonprofits impacted by the tourism groups, travel and hospitality groups. So some of the things that you can do with it, you can create a grant program, just like what we did at the county. We're going to have a serious conversation about that. Again, should we or shouldn't we do that again? Are the businesses economically impacted? Funding public safety, health, and health services. So like if you provide funding like Lonnie, or Lonnie pays for law enforcement, he could use that money to cover law enforcement expenses. And then he can use those levy dollars different ways, more flexible ways, more ways on roads, as an example. You know, purchasing software. So if you have outdated accounting software, if you want to get a, I don't know, QuickBooks or get a, you know, whatever that is, you can, the software is an absolutely eligible expense. And the reason that is because it allows people to work from home. It allows people to be socially distanced. And that's something we're talking about at the county. You know, upgrading our aging infrastructure in regards to our IT infrastructure and accounting softwares. Purchasing hardware. I think most of you, maybe a show of hands quick, how many purchase computers or laptops for your clerks and stuff? Yeah. I mean, it's an absolute eligible expense. And I would encourage you to, if you need to do it again, do it again. But wait until 2026 to do it when that computer needs to be done. All you got to do is just pass a resolution saying, hey, we're going to spend $500 in the year 2025 to do that, and you're good. So again, these are things how we can help you through this and spend it responsibly and save on the tax rate. Let's see here. Provide grants to your chambers of commerces or your tourism groups if you have a tourism group, but it has to be trying to recruit people back. You know, so there's a special event and you want to put some marketing dollars, you know, you just got to put the word, you know, responsible recovery for COVID or something like that, and doing it safely. So then that's legit. This is one thing that Steve and I from the association are kind of working through. HVAC systems and building better facilities. So for example, we feel, I would argue, that you could maybe use some money, maybe not all of your funds, but a good percentage of it for a new heating system or cooling system for an air exchanger. So if you have an air system there to help circulate, maybe you can get the next level up and cover the difference or something like that. You can make it, as long as the board feels that that meets the standard, you could do that. So that's another example. Purchasing cleaning supplies. You know, so if you got cleaning supplies and you want to spend it in 2025, just pass a resolution and just keep keep that money set aside so you're good. Food bank stabilization. There's some ideas that have been floated around about helping fund a mobile food truck or a mobile food pantry. These are some ideas how you can get really creative out there on how we can support that. There's also special money out there that I just heard about today relating to childcare. So there's special programs, just childcare is a huge impactor for our communities for jobs and growth. So these were just some examples, and so we just wanted to share that. So I mean, you can really boil it down to something that you can grab onto. My computer just went to sleep. Hold on. Sorry about that. Okay. Did everything just go backwards? Okay, there we go. Thank you. This one's very interesting to me. This is how I think you can capture some money of your American Recovery Funds to put into your roads. So what you would do, there's a formula that you got to use. You look at 2019 budgets, you look at 2020 budgets, and actually year-to-date expenses, and you subtract out, and there's like a growth factor projection model. I was messing around on a spreadsheet today, just within about 45 minutes of coming up here, I was able to find for the county alone, just over $1 million that we can claim this right away. So on day one, I can make an argument to the commissioners that, hey, we got $1 million that we can put into the fund under using this formula. There are some townships out there that can justify way more than they've ever expended. So which is great, because now they can say, hey, we're going to take that money, lost revenue, and then put that right back into their roads instead of using your levy dollars. So that's a way of doing it. And it's perfectly legit. There's the statute number, there's the reference numbers, we're all good. Infrastructure, water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. This is something that Roger Winter was kind of alluding to and trying to get some legislation changed to be a little bit more flexible to allow for potential roads or something like that, or ditches, or it's going to be a stretch to make that happen legislatively, we believe. But hey, if we don't try, we won't get it. I don't think we'll have to go there. I think we can probably do most of that through these other operations. So if you provide funding to like a local fire department, right? You probably fund that. Well, you can, some of those dollars you could say is those firemen are directly supporting COVID. So that's that public safety filter that we talked about. So you give them your CARES money, your ARP money, and you keep your levy money. So here's some ideas that we talked about for infrastructure and sewer projects. So if you have, I know like, what city, Callaway's working on a housing project, right? So one option is they could provide money to help pay for sewer infrastructure, the water main, the sewer mains, to bring down the cost for those purchasing people buying those homes. So it's a way to do that. If you have a wastewater plant and you want to put money into that wastewater plant, you absolutely could do that. Or a regional septic system, we kind of floated that around. That's a big lift to do something like that. But we believe that's an eligible expense. Same thing for water infrastructure, public water fountains. So provide grants. Some of the other things that we floated around is maybe you're on a lakes area and you got a bunch of failing sewer systems. You could create a micro grant program to your residents. Say, here's $1,000 to help your $15,000 mound system or something like that to help offset those costs. That's a legitimate expense because you're improving wastewater improvements. Let's see here. Broadband. This is going to be a big conversation. There's a lot of money being talked about for broadband out there. Huge money. And so that's something that we're going to be talking about in the near future about the underserved areas in the county. And we have a number of underserved areas. We've been approached by one provider already that wants to partner with us. Our question, first of all, is there other funds that you can use first before you come to us? Because we know there's a lot of funding out there for this right now. But again, this is something we want to talk about and want to spend it properly. And then let's see here. Other governmental approved units of government. There is some potential for transferring. If your township wants to partner, say, with Callaway or with Ogama or Wolf Lake or whoever, there's things that you could do to potentially provide funding for that specific project. So, yeah.
I had one question from that they'd like to see that use the money, like where a fire department is, like in the eastern part, or you're quite a few miles from the department. Put a well out there and a holding tank. So if there are fires, that the pumper truck could go and get that. And listening to this, that's possibly it could happen. A well and a holding tank that's so far away from their department.
And it really boils down to what does the local unit of government, you, the townships, feel is appropriate. If you think it passes the smell test, it passes the smell test. Now, we at the county, we're going to get a federal audit because we are going to expend over $750,000. So we have a little more scrutiny here. But then again, we have people like Guy and myself who can really get the the language and make sure that we're all covered there and things like that. So. But there's a lot of flexibility. You will not, there's no requirement for an audit for you guys. Not one of you, not even Lake Township or Detroit Township that's getting some serious money. It's $750,000 or more requires a federal single audit. So. Now, the other thing that we talked about, and this is in the newspaper, I don't know who Superman is, but there's some conversations out there. Is there a need to assist the townships in regards to filling out the paperwork, coordination of some funding sources? So I just floated the idea to the commissioners to see if there was any buy-in for this, to see if there was support. Guy and I are very dedicated to supporting overall operations, and we will do as directed by the commission, absolutely 110%, and we're going to help. But when you start talking 34 townships and 34 meetings, and different types of application processes and submitting programs, we just wanted to see if you felt there would be any type of need. Do you foresee any type of, Guy and I'll answer any questions there is. And so same with Steve. Steve's going to talk through next online here about what the Townships Association is going to do for you. They really built a playbook. He showed it to me on how to submit the applications to get the initial funds. So this was just an idea, and we're just hoping that you talk to your commissioners, let them know what your thoughts are, if you think it's worthwhile, and we'll have a conversation again and see if it's a worth conversation. I did reach out to all the regional all the abutting counties around us as well, like Norman County, and Monoman and everybody. And we're waiting to hear back from Norman and Monoman. The other three counties, like Clay County, they're Clay, and Otter Tail's got more staff than anybody. So they're not looking for a partnership there, but we're still looking for, see if there is a partnership. Guy's been approached by a PhD or somebody like that today.
San Diego.
Yeah. So there is support out there. There's technical assistance support. So if you do need help, and it's say you want to actually do the full thing, you can just contract it with somebody to do it for you, if you wanted to help facilitate, make sure you get the paperwork done right and things like that. But again, you're not hiring somebody to help you spend. Well, you are. You're hiring somebody to help you spend money, but to do it properly. So, having said that, that really concludes. Let's see here. Yeah, questions.
Question is, when we apply for the grant, do we have to say the dollar amount, or is it no?
So when you apply for the funding, you just say, I want it all, and they'll give you all of it. So they'll give you 50% now, and then 50% next year.
Whatever that amount is.
Yeah. So if your township got 14,000, they'll give you 14. They'll give you 7,000 this year and then 7 the following.
Find what you get, and then you apply for that amount.
Yep, exactly. And that's why it's important that we get our applications in for the funding. So, and I heard this from Association of Minnesota Counties, as well as, I think it was the League of Minnesota Cities, LMC, on a webinar conference that I listened to, that they talked about that. Said if we don't submit for this, say in 7 months or 9 months from now, the state will say, yeah, we're going to take this money and it's going to go to the state. And we won't get to have the benefit of it. So, are there any other questions that I can ask, that I can try to answer, or Guy can try to answer? You're like a televangelist or something.
If we join in collaboration with the county, we would help pay the salary of that person, correct? Could we use this money to pay the salary? We could. Would we have to then commingle the funds, or would we keep them separately in our own accounts?
So if the county were, if you were to want to partner, one of the things that we talked about, actually Roger Winter brought up this suggestion, is that to help fund this, instead of like we threw out a proposal like using 2% of everybody's funds to help cover everything. Well, one of the options instead of that is like just on an hourly basis. So if we were to recruit somebody and to work, partner with Monoman or Norman County or somebody like that, then we would just simply bill at that billable rate. And just keep it real simple. Then we'll just send you a bill, you send the bill back, and that's it. So, but each count.
Send the check back or the bill back?
The bowl. Thank you, Guy. Guy's gonna walk around for the with the microphone.
Yeah, I was wondering, how do you figure how much each township gets? How did you figure that?
There was, this is still kind of fuzzy. It's fuzzy math. That's exactly what it is right now. So there was a formula that was pushed out by the National Association of Counties that they were able to get from a staffer at the Treasury to give us a estimated of $109 per population. And so we just put it into that formula and it populated it out. So that's how it came out. So we don't truly know what the final allocation will be. But so you'll find out when it gets in your piggy bank. And our number landed right on with what the guesstimate was. I think it was per the census. I think it was the 2020 census number. Any other questions here? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Steve. Steve has a really good presentation about the tools that you can use to get through the process here. So, okay, I'm gonna put Steve on the big screen. Stop sharing my screen. Hold on, Steve. 1 second, please.
Sure.
Okay, Steve, go ahead. I think you're up on the big screen. Yep.
You guys can
Hold
see
on.
and hear me okay?
You're muted. Hold on.
I'm muted.
Are you unmuted, Steve?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Damn it. Steve, here's what I want you to do is I'm going to give you my cell phone number. I want you to call my cell phone. Okay, then I'll put you. I'll put it in the text message so you have my number. Sorry about this. We had this all set up. I don't know what happened.
Hello.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Steve, go ahead.
Okay, how about now? Because everybody hear me okay?
You're good to go.
Okay, all right. Everybody. So, the first thing I want to reiterate is that you have time, and that's been said over and over, and it's really important that you take that away from this so you don't feel overwhelmed. Because when you think you have a lot of time to do this, it really becomes a lot more accessible to do it. There is, if there's any hurry, it was on the application piece. Even with that, we have been talking to MMB about, well, what's their timeline? Because they were really pushing that this be done quickly, like by the end of August. We just said, look, 1,800 townships, you're not going to get that. So they have backed off of that timeline a little bit. But we don't want you to just sit and wait, okay? So we do want you to apply. And what we've done is try to provide some options for you to look at and follow. We've tried to do this step by step by step. And I should be sharing a screen now. You guys able to see that?
Yes.
Thank you. What you're looking at is the home page for our webpage. And if you go there, mntownships.org, and again, they use it for other purposes with our association, but we have an ARPA info right at the top, okay? And it will take you into everything we've compiled to make this as easy as possible. And one of those is a step-by-step process. And I'm gonna switch here. Now, are you guys looking at the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is linked in the step-by-step. And what we did was try to make this so if you've done none of this before, you can follow this presentation for every single item that we found you'll need to do just to get access to the money. Okay, so this is how you open the door and get the funding into your bank account. And you see here's the overview that we have in this thing. So it's going to tell you how to get your DUNS number. If you don't have one, how do you register in SAMS? If you've never done this before, it talks about what you need with your bank, the 2 federal forms you need. We talked a little bit about how do you figure out how much you might get, because that's like Mike said, that's a bit of a question depending on population, but also your budget. Okay, and then finally, how do you apply for the MMB? And I'm going to change here pages, but you'll see we have the red boxes and circles, and if you play this thing, they go one by one. You can pause it when you want, and you can see exactly what you should be looking at on each page as you go through this, okay? Now, if you look at this, it's quite a few slides, but they're not all very long. Okay, so the point here, we tried to make this as easy as we possibly could. We're going to do another one on the uses for townships. So we are going to focus on some of those things you heard today, but other things that townships in particular can do with that money. This program is much more broad than CARES Act is. So really, we can't think of any township that couldn't make use of what they have because there's going to be so many different options available. We also want to caution against spending quickly because you'll get requests from people if you haven't already who would like you to spend money on their program, their product, or transfer your money to them. Well, there's good reasons to wait. Okay, I think over the next 3 years, Congress probably will change things. I don't know that they could stop themselves. So I think that it might change about what we could spend on over time. And that revenue recapture that Mike was talking about, it looks to us like that's something we may be able to use in each of the next couple of years. And that means you have to have it available to you at that time. So you want to keep some of that on hand if you intend to use it for those purposes. Okay? There's a lot of other things we're gonna talk about in that webinar. That will be out this week again on our page to do that. Okay. And last, we'll have a step-by-step on the reporting. The same idea. We're going to take what you have to do and go through with this kind of setup where you see exactly what you should be looking at on the screen and how you put in something in each box. Our goal is to make this again so that no one would have a reason that they think, oh, this is a lot of work and we're not going to do it. Everybody should be doing this. No township should be leaving money on the table for this. All right, I'm looking to stop my screen share 1 moment. Okay, so that should stop now. You can certainly get help. Again, if something isn't making sense here, you can talk to us. We'll try to figure out if it's something on our end that isn't making sense. You can use help from other townships. You could end up using the county's program if they're going to have something there to help you out. Those are all possibilities for you. Okay. Take your time. Even with the application, if it's something you want to do, but it's not like tomorrow or next week or next month even. Okay, so please give us those questions and get help when you need. Please don't leave money on the table.
Well, I believe that's really wraps up our formal presentation tonight. So we'd be happy to hang around and answer any questions that anybody has. Guy, would you mind grabbing that? Mr. Brislin back there would like to have a call.
I hear you talking about hiring somebody. First of all, Guy Fisher is hired for that job. He's been being paid off good dollars.
Just gotta flip the switch.
I have to do what? Turn it off? Oh. Anyway, he's paid for that, and I think if he does his job and gets out and goes out and township boards and he can do that stuff. He might need an assistant, and assistants are the county commissioners that can go and help him out. And you're another assistant.
Absolutely.
I don't see we have to hire somebody from somewhere else and pay him for 2.5 years to do. These county commissioners, they work with $58 million budgets. They ought to be able to handle giveaways of money.
Thank you for that. And it's important because the goal here is just to ensure that you have the support you need, and that's what Steve's here for too. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I have thank you for bringing that up because I have a similar comment. My question is, as a township, we have the Minnesota Association Township on our side. We do already pay for that type of service. Mm-hmm. They've offered 3-4 webinars. They're available. They've got a wonderful website. I just wonder about someone at the county being a duplication of services.
Sure.
I mean, this money is going to be very scrutinized, and so I just wonder if that's something that our residents will be discussing as why are we duplicating that type of service. So that's the only comment I would have. I know that we'll bring this back to our board to discuss, but when you talk about a 2% cost, that seems, I don't know, that seems a bit heavy for me. So just that feedback. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. I mean, this is just an idea that was floated, and our commissioners are hearing what you have to say about it. And so they're going to be making the decision, and unless they tell me to put it back on the agenda, it's not on the agenda. So, are there any other questions about what we can spend the funds on, or how potential collaboration that you've heard about?
Advance, get in.
Advance, call yourself.
Okay.
If you close your cell phone, I don't know why the hell this is working.
Yeah. When they call, he's got some.
I'm actually on.
Again, I think the commissioners are here and one thing with the presentation, thanks Steve for your, comments to just wait. I think it's pretty important to make sure you get that first step done and get the application. I don't see us in any real need to push this out. Originally, we didn't, this is evolving every day. So initially we thought this might be very, very limited, but as we have time now, I think we see that, I think we can not look to get someone on staff right away, and maybe later on, maybe do that if it comes to that time. But right now, I think the most important thing, if you need help with this, the Association of Townships looks like they have a great website. So I think our county staff will also help with that. So if you think otherwise, certainly talk to us or email us. But it looks to me, and I don't know the other commissioners' opinions, but if we have this much time and we have, that many years, that initially, if you can't get the application, ask someone for help, and we will, Guy or Mike or any one of us will walk through that with you. Maybe not commissioners, we're not the brightest group, but staff is pretty good.
We just not can get in.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What we're going to do with this presentation is we'll put it online. We'll put it on YouTube probably tomorrow. And then again, we're only a phone call away. Go ahead, Phil.
Mike, you talked about that little scenario of roads. I mean, everybody here needs money for roads. You kind of jumped over that, say, just sign up for the money and kind of figure it out. Can you go back and detail that a little bit?
Yeah, actually, Steve, do you want to touch on that? I can talk on it too. I said you and I were flipping back and forth some Excel spreadsheets. So if you want to show that for them, that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't have the revenue loss piece up, but it's going to be one of the categories is revenue loss. And in that category, that's going to be where you have the most spending capability. Your town, you may think you don't have revenue loss, but because of the way the federal government is doing this, you probably do. So if it's a calculator, and you do refer to that calculator in our presentation, and that's going to be online too, and you'll enter the information there. There's not a lot of information either. And it sits up your numbers. And it says, okay, here's what you have for revenue loss. Based on this, you can take some of your money and put it into effectively general fund, the same as you could with anything else. Right now, that's the key to using your ARP money for roads. Okay, and we expect a lot of towns to do that. Now, our National Association of Townships, and I imagine a whole lot of other local government groups are working to expand the infrastructure that you can use the money on. Okay, buy water and sewer, not roads. That's one of our questions, and so we are trying to get some changes that say, no, you can use more of this for roads. But right now, that's the starting point, is your revenue loss.
So Phil, I was looking at that earlier tonight. I mentioned the county has a pretty good chunk of money. Basically, you take your 2019 to your 2020, and then there's like an escalator built into this formula, and then it shows you what your projection is. And then you just use that Excel spreadsheet as your justification, transfer it into your general fund, and then you're good to go.
Yep. Okay, Van. There.
I am.
Okay, this is Van Bachman, our District 9 representative. I don't know, probably a lot of you haven't met him yet. He was just got elected last fall. But he's on here, so go ahead. You've been listening to most of what the presentation's been about.
And I just wanted to let everybody know that, and thank you, Steve, for being online. But let everybody know in the townships that we are working very hard to make sure that at Mass, the townships that need help doing this stuff will get the help that they have, and to help you work this problem through. So we just want all of you to know that and to realize that. We're there to help you. Even myself as a director, we can help you out quite a bit. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Vance.
You hear that?
Yep. Thank you, Vance.
Okay, thanks, Vance. So only thing I got to add is the purpose of getting you together, because some of that I did talk to, that they weren't gonna bother with it. They weren't even gonna try, didn't even know an idea what kind of money was out there. So it's all to you now, and it's up to you, whatever you wanna do. If you're gonna need help, you've heard that the Township Association can probably help you. You can probably be on your own or see what the county does, so. It's there, and try and get the money. You got a lot of time to do it. And so it's totally up to you, Barb.
The DUNS number and the SAM's registration. This happened to me and a couple of other clerks I talked to. Everything I got back from them went into spam. So I kept, going, looking for stuff and reapplying everything, and here it was all going into my spam or junk mail. I didn't know that. So if you haven't applied for it and you're doing it, and you think you're supposed to get a response, they tell you like in an hour or whatever, check your spam.
Thank you, Barb.
Anyone else?
Are these funds for water and sewer eligible for individuals or families instead of just like municipalities or anything? Did I understand that right?
I would argue under the ARPA rules, you would be allowed to do micro grants to your taxpayers to support a program like that. Go ahead, Steve. Yeah, exactly. It's a tough. Yeah, you gotta be careful. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to mention, if you do have trouble with DUNS or SAMs in particular, there's a number you can call, and they are pretty responsive from what I'm told, and it's because that's a program used by federal contractors. So you call the IRS and you don't get somebody back to you, you call SAM and they get back to you. So I think there's good luck and good help with that too.
I have an even better shortcut to that. So I was actually, sorry not to steal your thunder, but I feel like a little bit even better shortcut for that. There's actually, the state has a subsection of the state that works specifically with these types of DUNS and SAMs issues. And we have a representative, it's the Northern Minnesota representative out of Deep River Falls. The woman's name is Arlette Abrahamson. I had to make some changes to the city's SAM account and DUNS account. We had a DBA on there that didn't need to be on there and had to get it straightened out. She was the only person that actually helped. And she was very good at what she did and was very responsive, very quick. So I would definitely, I'll share that, with you guys, and you can share it with everyone too.
So we can use this money and we can partnership with private companies to get something done. So up in the Tulies where we're at, could we get a cell tower, you think? I mean, I don't know what it costs, but could we go together with some other townships? Would that be possible?
Steve, what do you think on that? Steve, what do you think on that? Steve?
Usually a cell tower will support broadband service, and that's one of the major categories of infrastructure. So if you approach your broadband, wireless provider, who's also a broadband provider, I would put it under that guise. And yes, it'll happen to help cell phones too.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have an opportunity to really be creative. It just has to pass the smell test at your board level. So, Bill? Praise Jesus.
Concerning the townships are going in with the county and hiring someone to help us with this. I mean, I signed up for that SWIFT, SAM's, DUNS, Cage, went through the whole scenario, and I mean, it was a lot of work. They were, do we want some support, and are we willing to pay for it through the county? I heard some people on the other side, didn't really want to do that. But for me in our township, as long as we get enough we can pay for that person and do some good in our township, I wouldn't be opposed to that, to hiring someone. I mean, this is pretty complicated stuff, and I for one wouldn't be opposed, but I'd like to know, maybe by show of hands, or see if we are as interested in something like that.
That's a good point, Phil. That's what I'll do. Should do a show of hands that, maybe you're interested. Raise your hand. And some that are really interested
Interested in what?
in working with the county. If the county gets a person, if a county gets a person, Guy Fisher is here and he's available. So if you get in a bind, are you willing to show of hands? Are you willing to go that route instead of on your own? Show of hands. Yeah, I think that's the majority of them that would work with the county. And that once we get going on it, because if we do screw up too bad, the county jail don't have enough room for us. So I would, again, I want to thank you for coming out and apply for the money and have a safe trip home.
Okay, well, I thank you. Any last comments from our commissioners in the room? Okay. All right, well, thank you, everybody. We'll be hanging around, and feel free to give us a call, reach out to Steve, and thank you very much. And I will get this posted on YouTube probably midday tomorrow.